Chapter 650, The Unlucky Anderson. After recognizing the leader on the mural, Klein subconsciously suspected that it was something from his dream. However, he quickly rejected the idea. This was because the unlucky Anderson wasn't someone he knew. He was also not someone that had left an impression on him. There was a low chance of him being the extension of his own dream. And Anderson had clearly said that he became unlucky after seeing the mural. It was strongly tied to the mural, so it could only be the case that the mural was part of Anderson's dream. As he focused and looked carefully, Klein quickly realized that the mural was somewhat different from the mural that Little Sun saw in the True Creator's abandoned temple. The background here was a sea burning with golden flames, while the previous one was that of a desolate plain. The destination here was the depths of the sea, while the previous one had a destination of a distant mountain. On the mountaintop was a huge cross and figure hanging upside down. The bottom of the Angel of Fate Ouroboros's feet was black slush with heads pointing down and fishes stuck inside. Previously, it was a meandering river. It's a different mural, but more of a memory from different stages of the same pilgrimage. Klein nodded with a guess. A similar scene surfaced in his mind. A very long time ago, in a particular period of the Fourth Epoch, Ouroboros led a devout group of pilgrims or the remnant believers of the True Creator. With many powerful enemies in pursuit, they rowed a boat through this sea. Due to certain reasons, he abandoned the boat. With the help of the True Creator or his own powers, he parted the sea and led the devotees through it and into the forsaken land of God, leaving behind the kindling for organizations such as the Rose Redemption and Aurora Order. In the forsaken land of God, they tore through desolate plains, and on the pilgrimage, they built temples along the way. And one of them was discovered by Little Sun and company. With how Will Ossipton was forced to restart a cycle and be reborn as a baby, the Tail Devourer is likely still alive. Does this mean that he eventually arrived at the destination with the pilgrims, the holy residence of the True Creator? Does this mean that the holy residence of the True Creator is somewhere in the forsaken land of God? With this in mind, Klein suddenly felt a baffling sense of wistfulness. If my theory is correct, then that means that no matter how the City of Silver tries to save itself, or how they continue passing the flame, once the True Creator completely awakens or is restored to his original state, they would unavoidably head towards destruction. When you are very close to the Divine Kingdom, or holy residence of an evil god, your survival has nothing to do with your struggles. This is like the bubbles produced when sea waves surge to the shore. Once the waves recede, they would vanish. Human civilization and ethnic groups are just that weak under the gaze of an evil god. No, I can't be that pessimistic. I was only making a guess. Perhaps the one that forced Will Ossipton to reincarnate is Ouroboros. Perhaps the True Creator wouldn't recover or awaken that easily. He might be sealed by the 7 deities. Therefore, the City of Silver still has a chance. A path between the forsaken land of God and the external world needs to be forged before the evil god escapes from his shackles, allowing them to be moved out. This is probably why the chief of the City of Silver released Elder Shepherd. They need to use all the power they can get. Klein forcibly retracted his thoughts. He suddenly felt somewhat worried, afraid that his arrival was enough for him to be stuck in an endless cycle of fate created by the Tail Devourer. At this point, he instinctively wished to take 4 steps counterclockwise and go above the gray fog. He wanted to forcibly search for memories that he might have lost, but ultimately, he resisted those actions and prepared to observe first. From his interpretation of the symbols, there were no repeating rivers. There was only a black slush with fish embedded inside. It didn't mean the existence of a circle of fate, only the lingering of bad luck. This was identical to what Anderson said. As a king of angels, Ouroboros definitely has more than a cycle of fate. Different temples have different murals, and them using different powers is completely logical. Besides, this is a dream. Besides, even if I didn't do anything and really am stuck in a repeated cycle, making me repeatedly converse with the Admiral of Stars, to the point of making my observations, the problem will be resolved once Monday comes. The Tarot Club will definitely not be held. Miss Justice and the others will definitely feel puzzled as they make a prayer, and I'll use it to regain my memories. Klein instantly felt confident, as the chaos and tension in his heart was buried instead of disappearing. He looked up ahead and discovered that the hall went further in. There was no end to it, and there was light shining inside. However, it was restricted to the entrance. The other areas were dark and only became darker the deeper it was. All that could be seen were the wooden doors on both sides. Their destinations were unknown. Upon seeing this dark and creepy scene, Klein's desire to continue exploring was minimized. To encounter a mural left behind by a king of angels here, who knows what will happen if I delve deeper or enter some room? The fear of the unknown was an extremely ancient feeling. A premonition of danger with unknown origins had brought about a strong terror towards the unknown. Klein observed himself for a few seconds before he stopped proceeding forward. He turned towards Anderson, who was chopping the gigantic tree. "Why are you here?" Anderson looked up and scoffed. "I'm a treasure hunter." "So tell me, why would I be here?" "Treasure hunter?" Klein casually asked. "There's treasure here." Anderson continued busying himself with the creation of the so-called canoe. His voice suddenly turned deep. "There are treasures everywhere in these waters, as long as you obtain it successfully and leave alive." "That's true, but the problem is that it's very dangerous if one isn't a demigod, but it's even more dangerous for a demigod to be here." Klein looked into the hall's depths and asked, "Do you know where this place is?" Anderson traced his gaze and said, "I don't know. At least a third of my companions formed a team and headed in to explore, but they never returned." "Are you referring to the real world or the dream world?" Klein asked with a clear line of thought. Bang! After the axe landed, Anderson laughed. "Of course it's in the real world. The ones that proceeded to explore the dream are the other third of my companions. They similarly didn't return." Klein inhaled as he thought. "Where are their bodies in the real world?" "They have mutated into monsters. They killed off quite a number of my companions." Anderson raised his axe and cleaved down. Clang! Amidst a crisp sound, his axe broke into two. As the crack was towards the back, the fragment immediately shot at him. Anderson's right chest and abdomen immediately bled like a spewing fountain. He held his left hand to his wound and looked up at Klein. Smiling bitterly, he said, "I told you I was plagued with bad luck ever since I saw that mural. Thankfully, this isn't considered too unlucky. At the very least, they didn't destroy my ordinarily handsome face." "Are such descriptive terms supposed to be used that way?" Klein looked at Anderson quickly pull out the fragments from his body as he handled the wound and consumed some medicine. He discovered that Anderson was unfazed, and the skill involved in his actions meant that he had already gotten accustomed to it. Klein had a single hand in his pocket as he played with the coins in it. After some deliberation, he asked, "When your companions began the exploration, were you part of the group that stayed behind to study the mural?" Anderson was taken aback as he inserted his medicine bag into his belt and wiped his mouth. "No. I was part of the group that did the exploration." As he spoke, he grinned and revealed a genial smile. "This." Klein's pupils constricted as he bent his back slightly and raised his left palm. At this moment, blinding sunlight illuminated everything in a dazzling white. Then, it dimmed and vanished. Klein naturally opened his eyes and discovered that the outside had been restored to the midday state. He took out the pocket watch in his inner pocket and opened it. Only half an hour passed. This night is rather short. That unlucky Anderson looked very normal, but who knew that he was that terrifying? Rolling to his feet, Klein suddenly recalled something. Snake of Fate, Will Ossipton had yet to reply to him. As everyone's dream had been pulled into the world without the connection of the spirit world, he was unable to locate me. Or did he sense Ouroboros's aura and didn't dare come close? Or could there be something problematic with these waters to begin with? As his thoughts whirled, Klein decided to verify it. As for how it could be verified, the method was simple. He could sleep again while it was still noon. However, he wasn't in a rush to do so. This was because he wasn't sure if there were any taboos about sleeping in the day. Wearing his cap, Klein came outside the captain's cabin and knocked on the door. After 3 knocks, he retracted his hand and patiently waited. Before long, Katlia opened the door. She no longer looked as lost as she was in the dream. She had worn her heavy glasses once again. "Is sleeping in the day all right?" Klein asked directly. Katlia nodded. "Yes." After answering, she hesitated and asked, "It seems you were very proactive in that dream." Realizing how much danger lurked in these waters, and thinking about how he would be forced to show some of his abilities, Klein decided to proactively lay the foundations of his future explanations. He looked at Katlia and smiled politely. "Yes. This is a gift bestowed upon me by my lord." "My lord." Under Katlia's thick glasses, her eyes clearly shimmered. In a rare instance, she frowned slightly and eased them without asking any more questions. Klein thought for a moment, then he added, "Be careful of Heathdoyle." Katlia clearly understood what he meant and directly answered, "Don't worry. He has a sealed artifact which has a negative effect of him only being able to hear voices from nearby. That's a smart use of a negative effect." Klein didn't drone on as he took off his hat and bowed before returning to his room. He lay down once again and used cogitation to fall asleep. In the dream world, he woke up and saw the familiar pitch-black plains and black steeple. Phew, it's still possible to connect. Klein heaved a sigh of relief and traveled into the steeple. In the usual place, he saw the scattered tarot cards and the new words. There's plenty of dangers there, the most dangerous being the dream that happens when night falls. It isn't about the disappearances if you do not sleep, but there's one thing to remember. Do not explore that dream. Absolutely do not explore that dream. Since there's not enough space, I won't explain why. All right, it's just a joke. The reason is that the area contains some of the dreams left behind by a deity.